So, of course, the enemy also has plans for seasons, and his plan is to downgrade us, to keep us in cycles of poverty and disconnection, to distract and discourage us, and to keep us from our destiny.
And to keep in mind that the distractions can come in good forms and bad forms.
Yes.
They can be challenges that, make us grunt our way through, grit our teeth, as we're trying to get through some of those challenges. Or they can be very wonderful things that simply are distractions to keep us from being focused on what we're supposed to be doing. So to have that discernment and to understand that everything that shines, everything that's glitter is not necessarily gold, nor the direction that you should be going. So.
Yes. And so, we don't need to be discouraged about the enemy's plans, because we know God's plans are good, and we get to choose, what pathway we're going to take. And, God's promise is that all things work together for good. And so that's the joy. And so as I was pondering, just looking at David and his response through these verses, and if you remember this passage from the Old Testament, where they went out to battle, and when they came back to the camp, they were shocked to see things not how they expected. And so this is from 1 Samuel 30. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was, burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. And then a couple verses later, it says, So David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, And pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all, which they did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so a situation where it seemed deadly and everybody was going to be, stoning David and all of this kind of thing, and a complete loss, turned into a great and powerful victory. And I believe that there are several keys to the steps that David walked through in able to walk this out. And so these are kind of the steps. Is at first, express appropriate emotion with God. Then secondly, strengthen yourself in the Lord, and then inquire of the Lord. And so we're going to look at each one of those areas and why they're important.
And again, be taking notes and be ready to share your thoughts.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before about expressing emotions is oftentimes the way, we're raised, the way church often is to stuff all emotions, because, we don't want to have any bad emotions. We just want to be happy and all of those kinds of things. And I was really shocked when I heard a speaker say, study the emotions of God. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? God has emotions? Yes. And we were created in his image, and there's purpose for the emotions that we have. Emotions are actually energy, and they can be used for negative or positive. And so we've talked about this before, that grief, sadness, pain, and anger are time-limited emotions according to biblical. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That even God's anger had it for a moment,
right,
but his mercy is forever. And so then there's also joy, excitement, anticipation, and celebration. And then we can be ambivalent, dealing with both joy and sadness. And I know for Gil and I, that's definitely been this move, is this ambivalence in that, there's joy at coming to be close to our family and anticipating the birth of our Eden Rose. But at the same time, there's this sadness of leaving
the community that we had there.
Yeah.
In this space.
And getting used to a new land and humidity and things like that